Republican Mike Gallagher unexpectedly resigned from the U.S. House of Representatives. An OBGYN became the first Democrat to announce her candidacy in Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District. Our Wisconsin State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson found Kristin Lyerly was reprimanded by Minnesota's medical board for providing substandard or inadequate care. Vanessa spoke with Kristin Lyerly about her campaign and got Republican reaction.
Kristin Lyerly's campaign, one focused on protecting reproductive rights, quickly picked up traction, raising $125,000 in the first 24 hours after launching this month.
Politics has been interfering in the practice of medicine, especially when it comes to reproductive health care.
I spoke with Lyerly last week, days after launching her campaign for Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District. According to records obtained from Minnesota's Medical Board of Practice, Lyerly received a medical reprimand in 2020.
Medicine is a practice. It's imperfect, and we always do the best that we can, but, we're not perfect.
The reprimand is the board's least severe disciplinary action. It says Lyerly, quote, failed to timely deliver an infant in December of 2018, end quote. The documents explain Lyerly waited about 30 minutes after the baby's heart rate started decelerating before performing a C-section.
And in this situation, it was a challenging delivery, and timing of the delivery is always difficult to get perfect. And that's what the stipulation was about.
Do you think this reprimand casts any sort of doubt on your credibility as a provider and an advocate, just because it is so much of a basis of your campaign?
I don't think so. When you look at this stipulation, out of the thousands of babies that I've delivered, I've had only this one instance.
At the end of the day, Wisconsin families deserve to know that they are electing someone to Congress with a record of delivering.
Matt Fisher, director of communications for Wisconsin's Republican Party, says with 3 Republicans in this race, Lyerly is not the best candidate.
It wasn't one party saying this or another party saying it. It was the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice that ultimately raised these concerns.
The report explains Lyerly, quote, voluntarily suspended her hospital privileges in 2019 while under investigation by her employer for substandard or inadequate care.
I have and always have had a full and unrestricted license to practice medicine in Minnesota and in Wisconsin.
We confirmed Lyerly still holds valid medical licenses in both Minnesota and Wisconsin. And after unsuccessfully running for state assembly in Wisconsin in 2020, Lyerly says she wants to set the record straight for this race.
What happened with the last campaign is flyers were sent out that were manipulated, that didn't tell the true story, but made it sound like I was a terrible doctor. And the truth couldn't be further from what they said.
In the historically red district, 3 Republicans have also launched campaigns. State Senator Andre Jacques, former State Senator Roger Roth, and former gas station owner Tony Weed, who has received former President Trump's endorsement. In Madison, Vanessa Kelson.